Hello and welcome along to the latest production here at andyhuttinspeedfigures.co.uk. We've got a look back at last week's highlights on the speed figures from April the 18th to the 24th. And there were several horses that very much caught the eye on the clock. First of all, Mondamege, who won at Pontefract last Monday, off the back of a very strongly run race, courtesy of Just Another Bottle and Caspian Prince. This fella came through very tidily towards the back end of that race to win, I thought, quite snugly, recording a very, very fast time. We got a 98 on our speed figures, which is right up there with some of the best sprinters we've seen so far this season. Whether we can carry that forward into a higher grade, only time will tell, but he's certainly one to keep an eye on when he's racing up the north. Maybe if he goes back to Pontefract, but there's plenty of other big sprint races for him. I think he's going to be best suited to a strongly run 5. Certainly look at all his old form at Newcastle in the past. A stiff track at 5 furlongs is very much his cup of tea. So do keep an eye on him. Later on in the week, I think we moved on to, was it Tuesday? I think it was, yeah, when we had the a one-day meeting at Epsom. It used to be a 2-day meeting, but they've combined the City and Sub and the Great Met now together. And we had a Derby Classic trial, which brought together a competitive field. Went the way of Worko in the end for the Charlie Appleby stable. Charlie's had a really good start to the season, and this fella got off the mark pretty decisively, I thought, off the back of strong fractions set in the early stages. He stayed on well down the outside. He only just got up in the dying strides to beat a nice mare trained by Martin Mead, who I do think will go really well in maybe an Oaks trial, or maybe even come back for the Oaks later on in the season. I think it's called Technician or Technique. She's definitely one to keep an eye on. But Worko, very, like I say, strong stayer, likely to perhaps be supplemented for the Derby, and he's worth definitely keeping on mind throughout the season in middle distance contests. Later on in the week, then moving on a pace, we go to Cork on the Friday. Kyprios, a horse trained by Aidan O'Brien, created a favourable impression when winning a 1.25 mile conditions race. It was a conditions race on paper, but I think it was run so strongly, and the horses that came to the fore very much led to the belief that this could be a group race in all but name. The winner was a bit of a disappointment at Newmarket towards the back end of last season on soft ground. He just ended on handle of the ground that day behind Martin Mead's Lone Eagle, but on the faster surface, this son of Galileo really strode out with plenty of purpose. And he's noticeably he's entered in the Dante and the Derby as well later on in the season. So if all goes well with his trial, we could see him lining up there with him among a multitude of entries for the Aidan O'Brien camp. Also pay close attention to the horse that finished second that day, O'Reilly. He came from a long way back and did his future prospects no harm whatsoever for the Jessica Harrington stable. I could also see him running well, perhaps with a view to going towards the Irish Derby later on in the campaign. On to Sandown's 2-day card, and predominantly we're going to concentrate on the flat racing on the Friday. The best time was topped by, unsurprisingly, Palace Pier, won the Bet365 mile, and that race is likely to bring him forward to his targets later on in the season, namely the Lockinge and the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. The only thing I would say about Palace Pier, looking at him, over the course of time, we haven't seen that much of him. He just seems better going around a right-handed bend. Sandown clearly suits. Ascot, he's done really well there. He's got good, solid form on a straight track. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, he won a Group 1 at Deauville, but he did get beat on Kipco Champions Day on the straight track at Ascot. So maybe if he is going to be vulnerable, it might be in the Queen Anne, but elsewhere, turning miles, he's very, very smart. He clocked a 95 on our time figures at Sandown. Two horses that might fly under the radar over the weekend. Valparaiso won a 0-75 handicap at Doncaster, but that race is a very strongly run one according to our figures. He clocked a well above average time in beating two rivals on the improve that day, and Stamina's very much seems to be his key component, so he's one to keep on mind. He only got raced £2 as well, 73, now rated 75. Still think he's going to be workable in 0-75 or even 0-80 handicaps later on in the year. And Artistic Rifles won at Ripon over the weekend. He seems to be a horse going in the right direction. Winning the Spring Mile over a straight track. at Doncaster on his seasonal reappearance. He was just as good on the round track at Ripon last time, and now he's rated in and around the 95 mark. He could, feature in races such as the Royal Hunt Cup further down the line. Obviously, straight track suits him. So Edward Bethell looks as though he's got a smart mile horse on his hands there. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in. That's it for this week. Those are the 6 horses I suggest you keep on the right side of based on our time figures. And hopefully you can join us again. We'll have your company for the next instalment, which will be for next week. Until then, it's bye for me for now.